Hello everyone, my name is Eric Jones, better known as the Turf Teacher. Welcome to the lecture entitled Transportation, Storage, and Security. This information comes directly from Chapter 9 in your North Carolina Pesticide Applicator Certification Core Manual. Now let's get started with our course objectives. We're going to learn how to safely transport and store pesticides. Guys, I've been in this industry long enough to see some horror stories when it comes to people transporting pesticides. I've seen them laying loose, running out the back of the truck. You get behind a lawn care applicator truck and you see liquid dripping out of the back of the tailgate, and then you see this big 500-gallon or 100-gallon sprayer in the back of the truck. You know what's happening. They're leaking pesticide, or they're leaking a mixture of pesticides all over the street. It's unbelievable. And some of the storage facilities that I've seen, ridiculous. Guys, you need to protect these pesticides while in storage and while in transport. We're going to learn about storage area warning signs, where they need to be and what they need to say. We're going to learn about pesticide inventory maintenance, how we're going to store it when we keep them in our storage facilities. We're going to learn how to properly maintain and discard of pesticide containers and their labels. And we're going to plan for spill management. We're going to dispose of pesticide waste. What if we have old pesticides? I have people call me all the time, hey Eric, I found some pesticide stuff that my great-grandfather had back on the farm, years and years ago. What do I need to do with it? Well, you probably need to take it to a pesticide, amnesty day, where you just kind of go and turn this stuff in. Reminds me of the military when we're on the rifle range and you had the amnesty box where you accidentally had a couple rounds in your pocket. You can just go and put it in the amnesty box and you won't get in trouble. And then develop a security plan and prevent problems. We always want to plan for these incidents or these accidents that can happen in our vehicles while we're transporting our pesticides. And what if we had a fire or we had an act of God that could destroy our pesticide storage facility? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this course. So, transporting pesticides. This is a slide that I kind of borrowed from Michigan State University Pesticide Education. It was a good slide. But when transporting pesticides, guys, the safest way is in the back of your truck or your pickup. Just like these gentlemen here are doing. They've got their pesticides secured up against the back of the back window there. They've got their spill kit. They've got a lock box. They've got everything that they need. They've got their PPE there that they're keeping in that box, and their spill kit, which is very important to have at each location and on each vehicle that is transporting pesticides. Make sure that the truck beds are non-porous. Make sure that the truck is in good working condition, that you're able to drive it, that it's not going to break down somewhere and you get caught out possibly in a thunderstorm or something like that, and you're broke down, you've got all these pesticides in the back of the truck. You don't want that happening. And then make sure that you can secure all the containers so that the load doesn't shift while transporting them. So your transport vehicle, never transport them in the passenger seat in front with you. That is a no-no. You don't want that spill to happen inside the truck, and you definitely don't want to breathe in those vapors that can be coming off of those pesticides. Guys, it's hot outside. You don't want those fumes coming up inside the truck. You've got the windows rolled up while you went in to eat lunch, and you open the door and poof, you get that big volatilized vapor from that pesticide container. Guys, don't do it. Use enclosed or locked cargo boxes and place a barrier between the pesticides and the occupants. So you'd want, and those good storage boxes, those are perfect for that. You get them at the big box stores, the big old containers that's got wheels on them and got a lift bar. You can lock those in the back of your truck. You can secure those in the truck. Heck, you can even, secure them through the truck bed and through the bottom of that container and actually have it secured so that that box doesn't move, or even like a toolbox on the back of your truck. But you want ventilation for those pesticides, so make sure that it's not something, or drill some holes that get some air in it. But you need them locked, guys. Yes, they're transporting pesticides in the back of the tailgate here. It's secured, but if I'm hauling that pesticide, guys, I'm going directly to the application site, or I'm taking them directly to our storage facility. I'm not going to stop and eat lunch on the way and have these pesticides exposed. For one, weather. Two, theft. I don't want to lose money when people steal it. And second, I don't want somebody that's not licensed having access to these pesticides that you need a license to apply. So guys, be smart about it. Use common sense. Lock it up, use these big cargo boxes, and never transport with people. You wouldn't want anybody riding in the back of this vehicle. So you'd want some type of barrier but between that. Even if it's up against the cab of the truck, you want some other type of barrier in between the pesticide and that truck bed. The operator, the driver of the vehicle. Both the owner and the operator are responsible for any accidents that can happen, and injuries or contamination that can come from these pesticides that you're hauling. So if you wreck, you run a stop sign, you're at fault, yes, you could be held liable for that pesticide spill. You know, whether or not somebody hits you, it's probably going to get into a court battle. But if it's definitely your fault and there's a pesticide spill, you're at fault. Not only you, the operator, but your boss is going to be responsible for that. Every driver should understand the hazards and know how to react to a spill. So guys, you hire that new person, they're working for you. If they're not comfortable driving these trucks, definitely don't let them be driving a pesticide truck. They don't need to be going to pick up the materials and bring it to you. Guys, the best thing to do is have the dealers deliver it to you. If you order enough stuff from the dealers in a year and you put together a big order, they'll deliver it for you. And they're transporting it correctly. They've got all the placards on the truck that needs to be there anyway. Have them deliver it to your facility. If it's a big enough site, they could actually deliver it to the pesticide application site if it's a big project. When transporting the pesticides, again, inspect the containers prior to loading them to make sure they're in good condition. Make sure they're tightly sealed and don't have any spilled pesticide on the outside. So if you've got pesticide running down the container, what if you get a thunderstorm? That could get wet and leak out onto the asphalt, get down in the curb and gutter. That's dangerous. That's literally damaging the environment. But what else is it also damaging? Your image in the public's eye. Why would you want your pesticide truck driving down the road and you see water coming down the back of it? And then you get pulled, or then pesticide inspector follows you and pulls into the next job site, sees that you've got containers loose in the back of your truck, it's raining, there's water coming out, the glyphosate jugs got glyphosate stuck to the outside of it where you've spilt some of it. Guys, it's a horrible situation in that case. So make sure that they're in good condition. Those punctured, make sure that they are sealed up good and that they're in a locked box. Inspect the labels to make sure that they're clear and legible. Guys, we've got sweaty hands, we're touching the labels that's glued to the side of the containers. So make sure you got a good copy in the truck, because the ones on the containers are going to get damaged. And so that 3-ring binder notebook in your truck is perfect for holding the labels in MSDS sheets. Handle the containers with care. Use the packaging or shipping containers that they come in. Use a liner or tarp to cover the floor of the cargo area. Again, that's that barrier in between the truck cab and where you're at, and then between the pesticide. And secure your load always. Secure it tight. Here's a nice pesticide applicator truck that's set up for spraying operations, and it's got a place in the back. You can put fertilizer spreader. It's got a toolbox compartments where you could actually lock up pesticides. It's just a good way to do your pesticides. Stabilize other cargo that may damage the containers. Guys, don't put weed eaters and blowers and shovels and rakes in the back of the truck that you're hauling pesticides. All that's loose and can slide up and puncture holes in it. Next thing you know, leaking down the road. Don't do it. Each vehicle in your company needs to have a designation. If you're buying a truck for landscaping, it needs to landscape. If you're buying a truck that's going to carry the mowing crew equipment, let it do that and only that. Fill up your days that each truck's occupied by the same crew, by the same job that it's designed for each and every day. And that way your designated pesticide applicator truck, that's all it's doing. So you're not getting weed eaters. You're not getting, you might want to keep a blower on there if you're putting out granular application, but you don't want shovels and rakes that could damage your pesticide containers. You definitely want to keep them separate from people, pets, your food, livestock feed, seed, and plants that you're going to be planting in someone's yard. You want to keep that material away from the pesticides while transporting as well. The Department of Transportation, or DOT, requires a diamond-shaped placard on vehicles transporting hazardous materials. Ask the dealer if these placards are required for the pesticides that you're purchasing. They'll know that. They're selling these chemicals every single day, and they'll tell you what you need. There's a couple of examples of it being dangerous and flammable, but here are more or less what we could actually run across. We're not going to run around the gas, because we're not welders, but spontaneous combustible, dangerous when wet, miscellaneous oxidizer, definitely toxic. Some of the pesticides we use are toxic. We're not using any radioactive material. Infectious substance, explosive, all of these. Check with the label and check with the dealer to see if you need those placards on your truck. Most of the stuff in the lawn care industry, granular application, even our liquid stuff, probably not going to require that, but there are going to be instances where you may have to require that placard, and just ask your dealer and read the label. That's all you got to do. Storage. Secure your site. Guys, here, you need a sign on your storage facility. Danger, pesticide storage, fire will cause toxic fumes. No smoking sign. Have that around your pesticide storage area. And it needs to be, I recommend getting one of these separate little buildings that you can buy at the big box stores. Insulate the walls, because you need to control the temperature. Have a window in there so you can ventilate it ventilate the air through it. And maybe a portable heater in the winter, maybe a window unit air conditioner. I mean, you got to keep these pesticides at a good temperature, and they need to be protected. You can lock up that building. You also need some type of spill containment area around it. So what we did, we actually had a concrete pad that we blocked up around it. We did that for our fuel tanks as well too. But made the floor, the concrete, it was a good way to contain any pesticide spills. The building's locked up, it's ventilated, we can set a heater in there in the cold nights, and it was good. It was good to keep all of our pesticides separate. We didn't even want our lawn care or lawn maintenance guys that do all the mowing have access to the pesticides. Only the lawn care technicians should have access to your pesticide storage area. Prevent water damage. In this manual, we talked earlier about keeping your pesticide storage area 50 feet away from any private well and 100 feet from any public water source. You don't want to have damage to your building where it exposes these pesticides to storms. I mean, guys, anything can happen. Acts of God can happen. Fires can happen. And you don't want these pesticides to spill and have access to these water sources. Just think about, a public water source. We don't want it going into, a pond or anything like that that's open to the public. We definitely don't want it going into your well and you drinking that water. It's contaminated. You're not going to be able to drink from it. Moisture can even cause these containers to rust or split. Labels peel off or smear, they get wet. Our hands are wet too, so you got to take precaution with that, but definitely in the weather. And then it can also cause pesticides to clump, degrade, and dissolve. So prevent water from getting to it. You don't want to have any damage to your storage site and get access to public or private wells and water sources, and you definitely don't want water coming into your storage site and actually causing the damage to the pesticide containers. Water's a big deal. Control the temperature. I told you how to do that. You kind of need to have maybe some insulation in that storage facility. Freezing temperatures can cause the containers to break. High heat will cause the containers to even get melt or even spongy-like and real weak, and it can cause it to break down. And if these containers break and then you've got the pesticide leak out on a hot day, they can volatilize and even drift. Drift damage can come from a pesticide storage facility because it got too hot in the storage facility. The containers melted. I've seen 2.5 gallon jugs of Roundup get so loose and wobbly because of the heat, guys, and when that happens, they're easily damaged and they can break. And next thing you know, and what do we have there? We have a point source pollution spot knowing it came from our storage facility. Store the containers out of direct sunlight. They can overheat in direct sunlight. Use non-porous materials. Use materials for the flooring that are sealed or non-porous in the case of a spill or leakage. So even, your concrete floors need to have that seal around it. We've got a good little pad there. If that had some shelving and stuff, you could store pesticides there. You don't want the water to go through it, so you'd want to seal the floors. And absorbent floors are impossible to decontaminate. Let's say you've got a wood floor and you spill it. Guys, it's there forever. I mean, the only way to do it is to take up the wood, dispose of it properly, and replace it. Once it gets on a wood floor or floors that are porous, you're stuck with it. Maintain the site. Use materials for the flooring that are sealed or non-porous. Again, this is kind of reiterating what we just talked about. Never keep food or drink at your storage site. Why would you want to do that? Hey guys, let's go grab a snack out of the pesticide storage facility. Don't do it, please. Have water available for decontamination. You'd want be accessible to an outdoor spigot or something. Absorbent floors are impossible to decontaminate. Again, we just talked about that. Seal them off. Use the concrete and seal it. Inspect for damage at your site. If damage is found, put on PPE and then take the appropriate action to prevent further spills or damage. Immediately use the pesticide at the site if it is all possible. Like if the pesticide container is broken and you can get it to a tank and actually use it, do that. That's the easiest way. If not, transfer into another container that holds the same pesticide with an intact label. Sometimes it's good to hang on to an empty container just in case something like that happens. Then place the damaged container or place it into a larger container for disposal at a later time. So the big box stores sell these big tubs. So if you got one leaking, grab it and stick it in that tub until you can get it somewhere to dispose of the pesticide properly. Shelf life. Maintain an inventory, guys. Mark your containers with the purchase date. Take a Sharpie and write on it. Note the shelf life date on the product. So easiest way to do it. Keep that Sharpie in your pocket. Buy only much as pesticide is needed for the season. And guys, if you look at some of these pesticide math calculations and you know your total square footage for the year, you can determine how much pesticide that you're going to purchase for the year. Do a pre-purchase plan where you get it at a discount and only get what you need for the season. Don't buy, 5 2.5 gallon jugs when you've only been using 2. Don't buy it because it's on sale. Buy what you need, guys. Buy what you need only for that season. It's illegal to use outdated products. So if you buy something and the shelf life's out in 5 years and it's been on your shelf for 7, it's illegal. And then follow the disposal regulations, and that's going to be on the label itself. And luckily, most Department of Agricultures throughout the country will have what they call an amnesty day, and you can take these pesticides and have them, drop them off. A lot of people, when grandparents pass away and stuff, they start going through sheds and barns and stuff like that. They're going to find all kinds of toxic pesticides that's no longer in use today. You need to get rid of those, and those amnesty days would help you with that. Isolate waste. Keep empty containers in a clearly marked area within the pesticide storage site. You may need to pour a damaged pesticide into one of those containers. So keep them. Follow the directions on the label for proper disposal. And you want to dispose of them all at one time probably. And then you want to triple rinse all empty containers. You triple rinse it, put it back into the spray tank. It's triple rinsed. You're able to dispose of it properly with your doing it. And some of these containers, if you triple rinse them and do it properly, you can actually, get rid of it in the regular dumpsters. Benefits of a good security program: keep employees, the communities, and the environment safe. You don't want people getting around it. And plus, you're again stewards of the land, and it builds great public image for you if you follow all these safety rules. It avoids costly losses, reduces legal risk. and drops your insurance rates. You know, how many of you had a visit by your insurance agent and see this stuff? You know, they can jack your rates up if all of this is not in compliance. It can reduce the risk of vandalism and sabotage. It protects confidential business information, and it improves relations with the community. You want to have, I mean, guys, we're spraying pesticides, so we're automatically thought of, you know, no offense, but horrible people because we apply pesticides. It drives me crazy. People don't understand that pesticides are necessary. They are, and if we're going to feed the world, we definitely got to have pesticides. And it really gets to me because we have the strawberry farm that, you know, at least one call a day or one comment on social media a day is, you know, you better not use sprays or we're not coming out to pick your berries. No, we don't apply pesticide to our berries because we're eating them. It drives me crazy. We use our pesticides for lawn care. We use it for insecticides on shrubs and stuff like that, but we never spray our strawberries. But people have this image of people that use chemicals that's all we do. And it really bothers me that people think that everything we do includes a pesticide. But I've told you, and I told you this in one of the Unit 1 lectures, that if you've got a head of cabbage that's got holes all in it, that means you've had a bug on it eating it. And then you've got a head of lettuce or cabbage that has no holes in it. What does that head of cabbage tell you that has no holes in it? That tells you that it's had a pesticide applied to it more than likely. I can wash that head of lettuce. I'm going to tear it up anyway and put it in a salad. Those holes don't bother me because that tells me that there hasn't been any pesticides applied to that produce. Yeah, we don't spray our strawberries. We don't spray our garden vegetables, guys. I mean, we're smart pesticide applicators, and it drives me crazy that people can ask even that question. But anyway, risk assessment. All pesticides pose the risk of misuse or injury. Yes. I mean, just you know, just like a firearm, guys. I mean, people that don't know what they're doing get hold of it and they could really do some damage. Apply security measures in all aspects of transportation, storage, application, and disposal. Follow the rules, follow the label. Create a list of assets to be protected. Storage facilities, vehicles, equipment, tanks. Have that asset there. Know what's dedicated to your lawn care or pesticide business. When mixing, loading, and collection and containment sites, you know, those need to be protected. And then the utilities, guys. Employee training. Employees are the first line of defense, so make sure they're trained properly on inventory control, the security, emergency preparedness, and what to do if something happens, their response. They all need to be trained on this. And going through a program like this, you know, a community college course that's teaching you pesticides, or a industry certification process that's offered through the Department of Ag, or, you know, a course like this is training you for this safety. And everybody needs to have it. And that's why we have continuing education, guys, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's always good to brush up on the security measures when handling these pesticides. Evaluating your security. Evaluate your buildings and your property. Secure the equipment and vehicles. They need to be locked up. Hopefully you keep all your vehicles in like a locked in gate or fence. Protect your confidential information, you know, people's properties, the types of pesticides you use, stuff like that. Nobody needs to know that but you and your applicators. Develop procedures and policies for your company when applying these pesticides, and then coordinate with authorities. You know, invite the fire department out. Invite the pesticide inspectors out, guys. They're more than willing to help you to make sure that everything is in compliance. And, you know, guys, we care about our firefighters and our police officers. If there's an accident and these individuals are called out to the site, we need to let them know what's in these buildings that are burning. I mean, we owe it to them. They risk their lives for us every day. So have that corrected inventory list at all times, guys, that you can give to the fire department. You know, go and visit the fire department, take them a list of your chemicals. Hey, you know, here's my shop. I keep this in the storage facility out back. I just want to keep you guys updated. Do that for them. Prevent security problems. Create security measures that prevent tampering. Install security cameras. People see that automatically. They're not willing to break in as much if they don't see it. Work with local authorities on developing a plan. Keep and maintain your inventory. Know what you've got, and then make sure the storage area is locked. Review, update, and practice your emergency response plan on a regular basis. Now, keeping this area locked. Only your applicators and yourself and the important people, the ones that are handling the pesticides, only need to have access to your storage facility. The guys that are on the landscape crew, or the guys that are on the mowing crew, they don't need to have it unless they need to get Roundup. But it's probably better that if they go and talk to one of your applicators, your licensed applicators that's doing it every day, and actually get what they need. Not everybody needs access to it. Preventing security problems, post a list in a visible place of phone numbers of law enforcement and emergency personnel. Ask employees to report instances of suspicious strangers or anyone with unusual curiosity. If somebody's just snooping around the shop, you need to know. Report unauthorized persons on entries, and then restrict access to the storage facilities. Again, no, not everybody needs a key to the storage facility. And guys, that concludes Chapter 9, Transportation, Storage, and Security of Pesticides. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thanks.